Meet the CRF300L. Honda pitches this bike as the do-it-all dual sport, which if you're Graham Jarvis is probably true. But for those of us who are not aliens, it's going to need some modifications to do it all. This is the full walk around of our bikes. We're going to break down what we think Honda got wrong, the mods we've done. Most importantly, was it worth blowing nearly $3 grand?
Let's start with must replace, things that Honda got completely wrong. That's the mirrors, the handlebars, and the hand guards. The mirrors, they will not stay put in the smallest of layovers. They're constantly knocked loose and now they're just spinning around. The hand guards are only protecting your hands, bars, and levers from bugs. And the bars themselves are a little on the low side and they have a sweep to them that is encroaching wheelbarrow status. So we replaced the mirrors with these trail mirrors from Double Take Mirror and both the bars and the hand guards from Tusk. So far, very impressed, very happy with the Tusk bars. Like they sit about an inch higher than the OEM bar. So for taller guys, that's nice. And these Tusk hand guards are very durable. We've laid it down in multiple scenarios. The trail mirrors from Double Take Mirror, depending on who you ask, I think they're perfect. Pete thinks they're a little bit sketchy. It's really not that sketchy. You just got to do one of these. You're riding. If I want to see Pete, I just have to lean a little out of my way. There he is. No big deal. Oh, there he is. No big deal. They're perfect. We spend 95-ish% of our time off-road anyways. Like, I mean, we're just on the road very briefly to get to the next trail. So for what we're doing, this is the perfect mirror. So the next category is arguably optional mods. Depending on what you plan on doing with this bike, might not be necessary. But first and foremost is the suspension. Tons of options. We did race tech on mine. We did Öhlins on Pete's. We have a separate video, Öhlins versus race tech, that goes much more in depth on the differences of the suspension. The second arguably optional mod to make is the Acherbys either 3.6 or 3.7 gallon tank, depending on where you find it on the internet. Now that these are broken in, they're getting just over 50 miles to the gallon. So OEM tank, you only have about 100-mile range. So it's nice to almost double that and not have, you can go exploring and not have to worry about whether or not you're gonna run out of fuel. One thing to keep in mind, because this is such the capacity is so much larger, the float, the OEM float, your tank is gonna read full until you get down to about a half of a tank. So once you start dropping on your fuel gauge, then you know you've got about 2 gallons remaining in your tank. Yes, this fuel tank is larger, it has more capacity, so with a full tank adds more weight to the bike, but not appreciable, it's not noticeable. The bike still handles and maneuvers just as well as it ever did. Third optional or arguably optional upgrade would be a tidy up kit for the rear end. The OEM fender comes, I don't know, like to here. Comes clear down to here, not really. I went with TST front and rear just to keep things consistent, but I am very happy with the TST. See if I can get this right. LED, integrated turn signal, and fender eliminator kit. Up here on the front end, the OEM turn signals are rather large. So I replaced them again with TST, either the Echo series. Now, one thing to keep in mind, as you're replacing the OEM turn signals with LED, the bike is gonna think, because LED, the current draw is so much less than the OEM bulbs, it's gonna think that one of your lamps is out. So you have to buy a flash relay. Again, it's also available from TST, and I think that was 43 bucks. And the last arguably optional modification is the tires. If you wanna do more enduro type riding like Pete and I wanna do, you need an actual off-road tire. I went with the Tusk EMEX T35 tire. We just hop on road to get to the next trail kind of a thing. It's great. Traction's fine. We've been through several canyons on them. The off-road tire on the asphalt is the best traction that we get all day. So couldn't be happier with these, even though they're not DOT approved. The third category of modifications is not at all necessary, but pretty cool. You can see these are not the OEM graphics, 771 cycles. This is kind of my retirement plan. I'm a wireman by trade, but I love wrenching and riding, and that's what I want to do in retirement. The idea of golfing and fishing full-time terrifies me. I went with bike graphics with the X at the end. When I started reaching out to all these companies, their price was right, compared to their competitors, but the customer service, in my opinion, was on a different level. The second would be the seat cover. This seat cover is from Guts Racing, and it actually does really, like cornering, climbing hills, whatever, when you're in a seated position, it really keeps you where you want to be and not sliding off the ass into the bike. The third, not necessary, but pretty cool modification is navigation. If you watched any of our previous videos, navigation, not Peter and/or my strong suit. If you watch the Movie Ranch video, almost got us into a little bit of trouble. So I've outfitted my bike to accommodate the Garmin. This is a Zumo XT. It's a little expensive, but it literally came with everything I needed. Between the Garmin on my bike and the quad lock using a cell phone with OnX, I'm pretty confident that we won't get lost and/or end up on private property ever again. All right, let's get you some totals for these modifications we've made. Mirrors, $50 for the pair. Handguards, $75. Handlebars, $45. Suspension, $1,500. Gas tank, $219. Tidy up kit, $140. Front turn signals, $53. LED flasher relay, $22. Tires, $120 for the set. Graphics, $275. Seat cover, $80. Garmin Zumo XT, $450 for a grand total of $3,036.
So why would we go through the trouble of trying to make arguably beginner dual sports off-road capable? And it really boils down to the type of riders we are, the type of riding we like to do. Like, we really are about just getting out and adventuring on the weekend.
Even though it's a 300, it's a smaller displacement motor. You just have to kind of ride it like a 250cc 4-stroke or a 125cc 2-stroke. Just stay in the top end, and it makes plenty of power. The only time I've ever wanted more power out of it is like when we are on road. And 6th gear, it's geared perfectly for off-road, but on road, 6th gear, 65 miles an hour, you're about 8,500 RPM. It's starting to wind out pretty good.
It depends. Yeah, it'll hit 80 with a tailwind, and you'll be lucky to do 65 with a headwind. Yeah. So, yeah. And
the aging thing, we should probably mention a little bit. Like, I don't need a 450 for what, I have to go to work on Monday. And to be honest with you, I don't trust myself with a bigger bike. I want the smaller bike that, like I said, it's got plenty of power. It's got just enough power. Ooh, I'm probably gonna eat these words, like foreshadowing. But it's got just enough power to protect me from myself.
Definitely shouldn't have said that.
We haven't done anything to the motor. No exhaust, no intake, no ECU, nothing, because we're going to eventually, but it's not necessary. It's just those are want tos, not need tos.
On that, we want to know what you guys have done to your 300s. Like, we're still building these things out. We'd love feedback. Like, what have you done that you had loved? Like, I've heard people going to a 13 tooth in the front. Like,
yeah.
What things are we missing? What things should we be looking out for? And
tell me how to spend our money. we spend our money for us. What's next? What do we need to get done?